Minneapolis, Minnesota. And it wouldn't be an event unless you know who was there.
Take a guess!
That's right. It's Christopher Mad Dog Russo.
Yay!
He's broadcasting all week from Radio Row in Minnesota. All the big names will be stopping by as we get you set for Sunday's matchup between the Philadelphia Eagles and New England Patriots. Now, here's your host of Mad Dog Unleashed, Christopher Russo.
As we start hour 3, I'm looking forward to this spot. He's a great guy, and right now we got to get him a job. He won't have any problem getting one, but we have to discuss this and other things. Steve Spagnuolo, of course, who got a lot to talk about here. He's a coach. He knows Shermer. He knows how to beat Brady. I mean, because he was the defensive coordinator in that first team in 08. He knows a lot about Eli in the last 4 games of this year because he was the interim with the Giants. He saw the Eagles late in the season, so he got a lot to do. Steve, it's a pleasure. Long time no talk. How are you?
Great to be with you again, Chris. We were saying earlier, I think the last time was down in Dallas at the Super Bowl Radio Row.
You know, and you were hot. Let's do that first. You were hot. You took the big job there at the Rams. That's a very tricky job. You didn't have the great quarterback. It's a tricky spot, but a coach has got to strike when the iron's hot. Yeah. And sometimes you get lucky and you do, and sometimes you get lucky and then you don't, and you got a little unlucky there at the St. Louis franchise.
Yeah, I mean, it was a combination of things. Look, the challenge we knew was steep, but we were really looking forward to it. We brought a bunch of good people out there. You know, we struggled 1-15 the first year, went 7-9. Had we won the last game of the season against Seattle, we'd have been in the playoffs.
Yeah, lost in Seattle.
And then what we ran into, Chris, that really hurt us. We were a young, developing team, but we ran into that lockout year. And we lost that whole offseason. Sam Brady was coming off Offensive Rookie of the Year in 2010. So we felt really good about that, but you really couldn't change your roster through the lockout. You couldn't adjust things. That hurt us a little bit, and then we hit a bunch of injuries in 2011. Sounds like a bunch of excuses, Chris. I'm not trying to say that. And then we were gone, but I enjoyed the experience and loved the people.
And St. Louis is a good town that really got burned by the NFL. You know, they were going to build the stadium, going to renovate out of Edward Jones. They had the new stadium organized. You work for Kroenke, so you know his scenario well. That city got hurt a little bit with that. They're very down in the NFL right now.
Yeah, I could imagine they would be. Look, at Midwest people are great people.
They're loyal, too.
Very loyal, and they love their football. And I'm a big Stan Kroenke fan. I just think
he left you alone?
It was great. Yeah, I mean, I only had him the 1 year because remember, it was hired by the Rosenblum family early. Then the ownership changed, and that's a little hard to go through.
Oh, my gosh, you got no chance.
Yeah, but Stan was there, and I respect the man. I think he's doing a great job. I'm happy for them now. I'm really happy for the year that they had. I told them, I textbooked a lot of those guys when they had the success this past season because I was happy for them.
You were. So you got a little random here, got a little Ram feel. So you get that opportunity, and then you're back out there in the wilderness again. It's hard to get that second one, and you got the second one this year in an impossible situation. Hard to get that second crack at it sometimes.
Yeah, tough duty. I mean, I am a big Ben McAdoo fan. I enjoyed working for Ben. I think he's a good football coach. I believe he will be a head coach in this league again.
You do?
I truly believe that. Look at things, we didn't get off to a good start. Things sometimes can snowball in the wrong direction, and it's hard to get it stopped and push it back up that hill. We had some misfortune and some injuries, some things happened, and it didn't work out great. Now, look at when they asked me to be the interim the last month, I was proud to do it. I didn't want to see Ben leave because I still believe in him. And it was a tough day, but I will say this. I owe a tremendous amount of gratitude toward the players, the people in the building, the coaches.
Mara treats you.
John Mara's the best, and the Tisch family. I really enjoyed work. Look, I'm always going to have some blue in my blood because I had some of the greatest years there. Now, this year happened to be a tough one, and it finished the way it did, and it is the way it is. It's the life in the NFL.
The McAdoo situation with Eli, I was on the boat that I can't blame McAdoo in that situation. I think the issue was that the Giant fan didn't want to see Geno Smith play. I think a lot of this fight, he's a reject quarterback. The Giant fan is a haughty fan. They don't want a reject being their quarterback for their beloved Eli, who obviously won 2 Super Bowls. And I think he was in a very tricky spot to see what he had with Geno, maybe give Webb a chance. Mm-hmm. He was in a very, very tricky spot. And then, of course, the fans don't love him to begin with because, as you know, in New York, you got to be good to the media. Yeah. And he isn't. You were. And that makes it difficult, too. So he had a lot of tough situations there at the end of the year.
Yeah, it was tough for everybody. And I wasn't in the middle of all of that. But you make a decision, you stick with it, you hope it works out. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
Were you coaching the last 4 games with the idea that if you won a few, you'd have a chance to be the full-time coach?
You know, Chris, I didn't do that to myself, and I really didn't think that was the right approach. We didn't change, and I guess I'm talking about myself. This league is all about week to week. So when it happened that week, that was a rough first week. We just got back from Oakland. It was a long flight. And then Monday morning, when I got asked to do it, I was geared up. You put two hats on. I still was running the defense and trying to help the football team. But it was just a focus each week on trying to win the next football game. And I was not thinking about what was going to happen after that. I'm a deep man of faith, and I knew God had me, covered, and whatever was going to happen was going to happen. And I just kind of functioned that way.
Did you give it thought? Now, I know you didn't get a chance to. Did you give a thought about playing Webb to see what you had there as the backup quarterback?
Yeah. It was talked about every week. We did activate him in the last game. And we did. We made some steps the last couple of weeks where he actually was getting some reps with the ones, to kind of get him geared up a little bit. But Eli was going to be the guy. The hope was that we were going to play well enough and be in the game, that Eli was going to stay in the game, that he wasn't going to get hurt, and he was going to be the guy. And whoever was lined up as the second-string quarterback that day, active, would have to go in and play. But it was all about winning the game, and Eli was the guy we went with.
Everybody said great things about Webb in practice, that he's got a chance to be a pretty good quarterback. Your defensive players said that a lot. You saw him. Do you like what you see with Webb? Yeah,
I do. I mean, look, you're not going to know until you get out in the thick of things and in the battle. And look, you got to slowly evaluate him, get him out there. It'll be a new system. But I liked working with Davis Webb. He's got a chance.
He does. All right, now you had Shermer. And you had Shermer there in St. Louis. So he was your offensive coordinator. He opted he could have kept you. He opted to go to Arizona to bring that young kid in there to run the defense. He probably wanted a complete change. Did that bother you? You gave him a big job there when you went to the Rams. Were you upset that he didn't give you that same opportunity to stay with the Giants?
Well, look, I'd be lying if I didn't say I was disappointed. But I will say this. I've been a head coach before. You do what you believe you got to do, and you move forward. And that's what happened.
All right, so you understand what he was trying to do from that standpoint?
In some regards, yeah.
Now, you think he's going to be a good coach?
Yeah, I do. I mean, we'll see. I mean, I do. Pat's a teacher. He does a lot of good things. It's a unique situation he's getting into right now, but we'll see.
You see. All right, let's do the Patriots here for a sec. He is great, and he played well in your game. Don't forget, Steve was the defensive coordinator of that first Giant team, which defensive line was the difference in the game. And you put pressure on him, but I love the way Brady played that game. I don't care what the statistics say. I know he only scored 14 points, but he was tough in that game. But you made his life miserable. Everybody says you got to have the pressure up the middle and try not to blitz. Rush with 4. Is that the way to try to stop him?
I think you got to mix it up a little bit. Now, I do think Philadelphia is built to do exactly what you said. I think they got enough horses.
Good defensive line. Okay.
Yeah. But I look at Tom's seen everything in this league, but I do think you got to mix it up. We threw a couple of what we call overloaded zone pressures at him and did it early and had a little bit of success.
What does that mean, overload zone pressure?
Well, you bring, it's when we're dropping one of our ends and bringing a DB and a linebacker plus a couple of linemen from one side and making the offensive line or quarterback turn the protection to pick it up. And that was what we did. That was part of our defense back then. It still is part of what we do right now. But I don't think Philadelphia functions as much in that world. But they're really good at creating inside push. I mean, they put Brandon Graham inside. They put Fletcher Cox in there. And with games and, Chris Long has been
He's played very well for him.
And Chris was with me in St. Louis. I love that man. I'm really, really happy for him and his success. I do think the Eagles are built to be successful. Now, you're still going against Tom Brady. And the one thing you know about the Patriots, what you may have seen the last 2-3 games on film offensively isn't necessarily what you're going to see in your game because they adapt.
Right now, do you believe, I've always believed in it, that you got to score to beat them. Now, when you beat them that fourth, whatever it was in 08, now it's a long time ago, it's a different Patriot team, you didn't have to score that much. Normally, you got to outscore them. Now, Jacksonville gave up only 24 points. It wasn't a shootout.
Right.
But does Philadelphia, in your eyes, have a better chance offensively to put a lot of points up or a better chance defensively to keep the score low?
That's an interesting question, Chris. I hadn't really thought about it that way. But I do know this. When we played, it's a different team, but this was just our thought process going in. Because they were so high-powered offensively, and I still think they got enough power to put points on the board. We're talking about the Patriots offense. I thought if we could keep them back then in the mid-20s, we might have a chance to win. So you're talking about outscoring. I don't know. This would be an interesting one. I think the Eagles are, built defensively, where if they don't give up the big play, because they tackle real well, they play aggressive up front, maybe they can limit the points enough, and then it's a matter of Philadelphia putting enough points on the board to win the game.
All right. If you were Schwartz, what would you put a number on the blackboard defensively? How many points you want to no more allow? How do you handle that from a Schwartz?
No, I don't think I'd change the goals from what they've done. I think the best thing the Eagles can do is do what they do because they're really good at it. Now, most coordinators, most defenses will put up the board as an objective for points allowed. Usually, it's a 17. Because you do statistics around the league, and if you can hold teams to 17 points...
You're going to win 80% of the time.
Yeah, it's pretty high. So I don't think they would change with that number.
Now, you scored a ton of points against them late in the year.
Yeah, guys did a nice job. I thought they did a really good job, Mike Sullivan, the offensive staff, with some tempo. And some, we talked during the week, one of the things we thought if we could get some yards after catch, underneath and get some runs, that it would be, and we did. Where Sterling Shepard had one, and I think TK had another, and that helped us. The other thing, that the tempo, I thought, really helped us.
Yeah, Foles, he played pretty well against you guys, 4 touchdowns. Then he played badly. He was good against Atlanta. He wasn't bad in that game. He only scored 15 points, but he was okay. And then he was worldly. Again, very much like Kerry Collins against Minnesota back in 2001. Worldly against them, the Vikings last week. Now, which Foles are we going to... This is an impossible... This is the key to the game. If Foles plays well, they can win. I'm not sure what to expect against Belichick. What do you think? What do you see?
Well, again, it's no different on that side of the football for the Patriots, that they're going to adjust to take away how the opponent attacks them. They'll have to figure it out early. I'm talking about the Eagles offense. Figure out early what the Patriots are taking away, what they've decided.
So Belichick's going to do that. Which you think is going to take away the ground game and put the ball in Foles' hands? Take away those tight ends? Those tight ends are good. Ernst is good.
It's an interesting question because you can pick a lot of different things. I think defensively, from a purely philosophical defensive set, you got to stop the run. You can't let somebody. Although. If you're not giving up big run plays, usually teams aren't going to stick with the run, for the remainder of the game or for the total game to try to score points. I'll be really interested to see what Bill and Matt Patricia decide to do. Look, they got something up their sleeve because it'll be a little bit different.
Yeah. If I'm Doug Peterson, the first thing I'm doing is I'm going to learn what Marone did. You got to lead in the 14-10. Be aggressive. Don't be giving up possessions against his team. You got the ball in the fourth quarter with the lead. I'm sure you saw it. And Marone did a hell of a job. I'm not looking to knock Marone, and he's got Bortles. It's tricky. I get it. But if you got to lead in the fourth quarter with the ball, you don't go run the ball first and second down and then punt because they're going to lose.
Yeah,
be aggressive.
I don't think that. I think Doug's nature is to be aggressive. He goes for it on fourth down. He's done it all the way through these 2 years that he's been in Philadelphia, and I don't think that'll change. I think he's got enough confidence in his football team and in himself that he'll stick to that.
So you think Philadelphia defensively is built that they can cause the Patriots some trouble from an offensive perspective?
I think they're built that way. You still got to go out and do it because you're still going against the greatest quarterback, in my opinion,
of all
that's
time.
ever played the game.
I hate to say it. I love Montana, but
being built that way and actually going out are two different things. So I'm really anxious to watch it play out.
They played 10 times. Would the Patriots win 7?
Ooh, 50-50, 5-5. I'll go right down the middle.
Really? The Eagles are that competitive?
I just think this. Look, it's hard to. The Patriots are the Patriots, and they know how to win, right? They know how to win. But I just think the Eagles are built. I'm talking about as a team to be able to win. It will not surprise me
if the Eagles win.
Eagles win, I will not be surprised. And yet, look. The Patriots, it's still the Patriots, still Tom Brady, it's still Bill Belichick.
Lot to do. Let's one last thing for you. Now, you're in a tricky spot right now. You're a hell of a coach. You got a ring. I see you wearing it right now. You coached in the NFL.
It's about the only time I get to wear it.
Yeah, well, why not?
Yeah.
You deserve it. That was a great team. A lot of jobs to fill. You want to work? What does Steve Spagnuolo do now for 2018?
Well, I'm not sure what that'll be right now. I will coach football again. I love it too much. I'm passionate about it. I love the guys. I love to teach. I love the game day, the whole thing that goes with it. But look, I'm not so sure. The market's dried up, so to speak, a little bit. And And so it may not come this year. But I'm not so sure that's such a bad thing. Sometimes we can sit back and see the whole thing instead of being in that tunnel as we dig in during the season and get our tunnel vision. So I'll look forward to that. It might be a little bit hard to do because we're used to working all the time. But if that's what the good Lord's got in mind, in store for me right now, that's the way I'll go, and we'll see how it works.
Now, you're a coordinator at the bare minimum. If somebody offered you a positional coach, would you take it?
To be a coordinator?
No, I know you take the coordinator job. Would you take a positional coach job? So you say, Steve, I need a linebacker coach. Come do it. Would you do it?
It would depend on where it was and who it was with. I think I'd be a little bit more selective right now. Right now, and then we'll see what next year brings.
You've always been great. The media loves you. Steve,
thank you, Chris.
Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Good to have you with you again. 418, 518 in the East, 418 here, and 218 in California. We'll come back here on Mad Dog Unleashed right after this.